your ratings and start off with Vicario. Sim gives him a 3. I gave him a 2. Look, the reality is he barely had to make a save in the game. What I've given him the rating on is basically the moment which put us 2-0 down with 5 minutes gone. It's like ridiculous. Like, what top level goalkeeper does that? Like, comes out so far and loses the ball in the way he does. He had so many opportunities to clear the ball as well, and I'm just like, Stell's here shouting, get rid, and he dilly-dallies, and it ends up with a Fulham player, and he had a lot to do, that Fulham player, to knock it in from where he did, but still, you can't do that. You just cannot do that. It's absolutely shocking from Vicario.
Yeah, obviously that's what his game will be remembered for. It's absolutely shambolic. I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know if he's trying to be brave and play out from that situation, or I don't know if he's just trying to clear his lines and he gets it all wrong because he's on his left foot. The guy has no composure. He gets a rush of blood to the head, and that's my biggest problem with him, and always has been. I think it's what is, people love him for it because he shows passion and he goes for things, and I think that's one of his biggest strengths, but it's also his biggest weakness. He doesn't know when to calm down. He doesn't know when to do the smart thing, and he always has a rush of blood to the head, and you see it when the ball comes to him. He doesn't have any composure. He should have just put out for a throw. Any keeper in that situation puts out for a throw. I think he's trying to be brave. I also have to say, I don't know what the hell defenders are doing at that point as well, because why the hell is no one getting back on the line? Why the hell is everyone just watching the ball go over their heads? And like, Dancer was actually actively stepping up. Yeah. There's no keeper in goal. Get on the line. If he gets on the line, that's actually easily cleared. And maybe we don't concede in that situation. But I don't know what is a brain dead moment for everyone, but obviously especially Vicario, who caused the whole situation. I don't like to see the boos for him. I thought that was horrible. In fact, when I left the game yesterday, when I left the ground, I saw his parents, and they just looked inconsolable. I felt so bad for them. And we know that they've been obviously part of the Spurs away fan base now for the last 2 years since he's been here, and they've been such a big part of it, and it's really hard to see them like that. So I felt awful, and he did front up after, so fair play to him. But yeah, it was a terrible moment.
Pedro Porro up next. 3s all round for Pedro. Yeah, I thought Pedro, in that first half, I thought he was absolutely horrific. His passing was poor. He was getting done time and time again. He was just hampering us, literally. It was like he was playing against us for 45 minutes, seriously. And that moment as well where Van der Ven had to save his bacon, like, what are you doing? Like, seriously, he's on the edge of our own box, literally one-on-one with an attacker, and he's losing the ball. Like, how are you losing the ball there? It's just such a bad error. Credit to him, he dusted himself up at half-time, and I think he got a lot better in the second half, and was one of the key reasons why we looked a lot better in those opening 20 minutes of the second half. But that first half was shocking, and you know what? I've seen some really poor performances from Pedro Porro this season, and I'm not sure what to make out of them, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought he was really poor as well. I struggled to deal with Chukwueze. I thought Chukwueze was getting a lot of joy out of him. Obviously for the first goal, and for the moment where Van der Ven cleared it from the last man tackle for the open goal. His passing woeful, just going long, lacking accuracy, and he seemed to be getting really frustrated as well on the pitch. He was a lot better in the second half. He was linking up with Kudus a lot better, and he seemed to have a lot more energy as well in that second half. I don't know if something flipped, and should have had an assist when he laid it on the plate for Xavi, who had his shot blocked, but his crossing seemed to be a bit better in that second half. Had his corners as well, but unfortunately the damage was done, and it was another really poor display from Pedro Porro. And as well, you put to the fact he had a bit of a thing after the game as well with Bergvall. Not a good look.
Kevin Dancer up next. Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 4. I thought what really frustrated me with Dancer, which frustrates me a lot, is his inability to just play a pass out the back. I thought it was so frustrating. More times than not, it was going to a Fulham player, it was going out play. It was just like so frustrating with Dancer, and also his defending has really taken a turn for the worse in the last couple of weeks since he's been playing. I was like, I don't know what's going on with Dancer. He doesn't seem to be this like brick at the wall and aerial monster that we've seen pretty much every other time he's played. These last few performances from Dancer have been pretty shocking.
Yeah, I think second half he was a bit better in terms of just being a bit more dominant, keeping Tottenham on the front foot. But I thought first half, a bit all over the place again. And I thought Jimenez was getting a lot of joy out of him, actually. And he wasn't tracking him. He wasn't getting close to him. And Jimenez was holding the ball up, easily playing other players into play. And his passing was poor down so as well. I didn't like what I saw from him.
Mickey van der Ven, 8s all round. Mickey was pretty much the only one that comes out of this game with a lot of credit in the bank. Like, he saved 2 certain goals on his own in the first half. It could have very easily been 4, maybe even 5-0 to Fulham at half time, and it was basically just him on his own. That was that tackle from that Pedro Porro mistake was one of the best tackles I've ever seen. Like, seriously, it was. Yeah, it really was. It was incredible. It really was. And in the first half, I was saying at half time, he's the only one that is playing well, or the only one that looks like he even wants it. So credit to him for keeping up his standards. He must be looking around and just being like, what am I even doing here?
He seemed sick of it at the end of the game as well. Another one. He seems to be, I'm getting worried about that situation. If things continue, he might be getting, other clubs looking at him. Yeah, and itchy feet, 100%. Because he's keeping up his standards every week, yet the shit show around him is really laying him down. He was brilliant, I thought, for the most part in this game. Apart from a few loose passes, I thought he was really, really good. Not only did he do that tackle, but he also blocked a header from Jimenez as well, which was goal-bound, and that saved us from a moment which was really bad. And I thought in the second half, we sustained pressure a lot, first of all due to Danso's aerial dominance, and also any passing behind Van der Ven just mopping up and making sure we retained possession, and we were able to kind of keep the momentum going on Fulham. So, a brilliant performance from Mickey.
Destiny Udogie up next, 4s all round for Destiny. It was a poor performance from him. He was trying to get up and down that left-hand side, and he was getting a little bit of joy. But I felt like Destiny, whenever he got into like decent areas, he had a bit of a Jed Spence about him and kept checking back and tracking back, and ultimately attacks started to break down on that side. And yeah, there was just nothing positive in that Destiny display, unfortunately. And look, I get what you're saying in the review. You're saying he's trying to do a lot on his own, which is down to tactics at the end of the day. But individually, I thought he was pretty poor.
Yeah, I felt for him because I don't think he had any support. Like, when Porro goes forward, he's got Kudus in front of him. He can overlap. Like, Udogie gets the ball and he's got literally no one in front of him. He's left all lot by himself. So he's checking back because he's got nowhere else to go. He can't really take everyone on. He's not that kind of player. He needs space to run into. He needs a player to be drawn out. So I did feel for him. But yeah, he wasn't good. I mean, defensively, I don't think he did much wrong, but you got to say for the goal, it's harsh to say it's his fault, but obviously the ball was going to Wilson and he slips at the crucial moment. I actually think if he doesn't slip, he might block the shot. But unfortunately, just as the ball's going to Wilson, he slips and allows Wilson to get the shot off, and obviously it costs us a goal. So that's obviously a moment he's not blameless in. And he just wasn't as impactful as he could have been in this game. But I don't necessarily think it's his fault. I guess he takes part of the blame, but I think you look at the situations he's in and he's just completely isolated. So, yeah, it wasn't a good game from him.
Yeah. João Palhinha up next, 4s all round for João. I thought he just got completely overrun in midfield. João Palhinha was like really worrying what I saw from him. Like, he was chasing shadows all game. I thought Fulham's midfield completely dominated him. He looked completely lost, weak in the challenge, lethargic display. On the ball, we know what he brings, which is, not much. But off the ball, I thought that was his worst display in a Spurs shirt.
He was asked to be like the main guy progressing the ball, and he just wasn't able to do it. He was just passing it sideways. He found it really difficult to progress the ball. It's not really his game, and I thought he was a bit all over the place on the ball. And I actually think mobility-wise, Iwobi and Bergvall were getting the better of him. I think it contributed as well because I think Bergvall and Gray were very unsure about where to be on the pitch. I think they really struggled about what their jobs were. But I think Palhinha really suffered for it as well. I think he had too much to cover.
Archie Gray up next. Sim gives him a 4. I gave him a 5. Didn't really build off the back of that performance that he showed in midweek against PSG, where I thought he was brilliant. In this game, His passing was pretty poor. Moves kept breaking down when he was trying to progress the ball up the pitch in the first half. So the first half wasn't great. I do feel like in the second half, though, he did dust himself down, and I thought the performance was a lot better. And I thought he got taken off maybe at the wrong time because I thought he was just about growing into the game.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he struggled badly in that first half, to be honest, losing the ball in key positions. Again, I thought physically was getting a bit dominated, unfortunately. I hate to say it because I thought he was so good on Wednesday, but he did struggle badly in that first half. Again, I think a lot of it might be confusion. It's, you know, on Wednesday, he seemed to be more to the left-hand side, linking up with Bergvall, and they seemed to find some moments together. Yet he was on the right-hand side on this point of the midfield, and he seemed to be unsure about where to be. Second half, he did start to get to grips with the game, but I don't know whether Frank felt, after having played, did he play 90 in midweek, or having played, started in midweek, maybe he couldn't play too much more than 60 in this one. But it was unfortunately got taken off just as he was getting into the game.
Yeah, I said it at the time to Stella on the watch long. I think it was a bad decision to take off Gray because I thought he was just about growing into the game. But anyway, Lucas Bergvall up next, 6 all round. First half, not much in there from Bergvall. Looked a little lost as the rest of our midfield did, but second half I thought was absolutely brilliant. I really did. It was a two, polar opposite displays from Lucas Bergvall, and in the second half he was that real driving force in the middle of the park for us, really aggressive in the tackle as well, winning the ball back countless amount of times, and linking up well with the likes of Kudus and Porro as well. So I thought Bergvall second half, kind of made up for that poor first half performance from him, and then he got taken off.
Yeah, another one. I thought we lost so much when he went off, to be honest. I know he was tiring a bit, but he was the only one passing the ball forward and actually looking to have a bit of vision. Obviously, he got the assist for Kudus' goal as well. Yeah, first half he did struggle. Again, and like I've said to every player, I feel like he was really confused. Was he supposed to be helping out Udogie on the left-hand side? Was he supposed to be helping out Palhinha and Gray in the middle? Was he a centre mid in a 4-3-3, or was he a kind of left attacking mid in a 4-2-2-2? I don't even know if he knew, to be honest, in that first half what he was supposed to be doing. He seemed really confused, and he was really struggled to get into the game. But look, he tried to take responsibility in the half time. He was leading. The players in a sort of huddle, and he was the one taking responsibility to having words with the players. At full time, he was the one trying to go over to clap the fans, although Porro was shouting at him. He was trying to, take responsibility, and I like to see that. It's crazy that a 19-year-old is the one doing it and not the senior players, but he was much better in the second half before got taken off.
You know what you're saying about the taking responsibility as a 19-year-old? Last season, we saw similar traits, not from him, but Matisse Tell. Matisse Tell was a lone player last year, and he was the one taking responsibility, going into the fans and trying to talk to them and trying to get them to stick with the team. So it's not like the first kind of example that we've seen of that in this squad. Next up, Mohamed Kudus. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. I thought first half he was barely in the game. I thought he saw a lot of the ball, but he was just holding on to it too long, trying to do everything on his own, and ultimately lost the ball a lot. Second half, he really came alive, and for that 15-20 minute period, he was unplayable. They just could not deal with him. He was taking it past men easily, getting crosses in the box, scored a fantastic goal, unbelievable finish from him. And then I thought after that, after the changes came and everything like that, he wasn't at the same intensity and kind of petered out the game a little bit. But for that 20-minute period, he was fantastic.
Yeah, I did feel like he was our biggest threat in the first half without doing too much. He was the only one getting to the byline, trying to get crosses in. His crossing was really poor, I thought, actually, at the end of the day. I think he really struggled to find a man. I don't know whether that's how Fulham set up or us not having enough players in the box, but his crossing was very poor for a lot of for the whole game, to be honest. But he did really was driving force to getting us back in the game. I think he linked up really well with Porro, scored a brilliant goal, and was really hard to deal with. Even though his crossing was poor, he was very hard to deal with for the Fulham players for a lot of the game. So pretty much our whole attacking plan was on his back for the whole game.
Kolo Muani, Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. I really like Muani's attitude, to be honest, and application. I thought he was trying to press from the front. He was being aggressive up against the Fulham defenders. I thought there was, it was hard for him to show much quality in the game, but what he was doing with his work rate was top notch, to be honest. And I think we got a good player here in Muani, to be honest. And I think, you know, probably the best number 9 we got at the club.
Yeah, I actually thought even in the first half when we were awful, he was the only one showing a little bit of quality, holding the ball up.
He was showing fight,
players,
you know?
like, bit of fight. There was a moment where there was a lost cause running into the corner, and I can't remember who's right back, but Tete. Looked like Tete was favourite for it, and he just sprinted, and he was able to nip the ball ahead of Tete and sustain an attack. But unfortunately, no one was really on his wavelength for a lot of the game. Unlucky on a couple of occasions not to score. Had a back heel, he had a shot blocked as well. He was also winning quite a few headers when long balls were played to him. So I thought he showed a lot more, than anyone else did on the pitch, and was unlucky that everyone else was just so bad.
Yeah. And Richarlison, the last of the starting 11, Sim gives him a 4.
I actually gave him a 3.
Oh, well, we give him a 3s all round for Richarlison. There was just literally nothing in that game for Richarlison. Like I barely remember him touching the ball. Again, a lot of time on the floor, as he always does, and he just did nothing to impact that game. Literally nothing.
It was a disaster class, I have to say. I'm a big fan of Richie compared to a lot of other people, but he was shocking yesterday. There was a number of times where actually some good passes were played into him, and he just miscontrolled it and constantly losing the ball. I don't know if he actually ever kept the ball yesterday. It was atrocious. Obviously wasn't a goal threat as well. Wasn't able to find any moments in the box. Probably should have been hooked at half time. It was shocking from Richarlison.
Yeah. Wilson Odabear, 5s all round for Wilson. I thought with Wilson, he looked a bit weak on the ball, to be honest. I thought he got shoved off it a few times pretty easy, but he did show a bit of strength actually to win a header at the back post on one occasion, but he didn't offer anywhere close to the threats that we know he can offer. I mean, when you're looking at that cameo compared to the cameo he had when he came on, we brought on Udogie out on that left-hand side. I can't remember which game it was. He looked brilliant in that game, constantly. United, constantly a threat out on that left-hand side. Unfortunately, he couldn't replicate that.
Yeah, he threatened to threaten, but never really threatened. He looked bright, got on the ball, got to the byline, but unfortunately none of his crosses ever beat the first man. He won a few corners. He added a bit of just energy and kind of a bit of directness, but never really actually created anything significant.
Javi Simmons, 5s as well for him, and yeah, he must be thinking, what the hell have I done joining Tottenham Hotspur at this moment in time. He comes on and look, he added a bit of extra kind of guile to his play, but for the most part he was frustrating because I thought he lost the ball so many times, but at least he had a go, he had a shot, that's about it.
Yeah, nearly scored, but I actually think he
should have scored, to be honest. Well, it was a good block.
He did struggle to really impact the game. Got tackled on a few occasions. He also did this really weird moment. I can't remember when it was. He gets the ball from a throw and just boots it right up in the air. I don't know what he was doing on that occasion. I don't know what he was trying there, but that was a really odd moment. He just seemed a bit out of sorts when he came on the pitch.
Bentancur up next, 5s all round for Bentancur. Again, a bit of bad, a bit of good. I thought, he kept the ball moving a bit better than Palhinha did from the central areas, but there were a few bad things I saw and just how easy it was to rob the ball off him, so pretty poor.
Yeah, I think the ball was moving a bit better when he came on. We started to move the ball a bit sleeker, but yeah, unfortunately, as the game went on, they started to get a bit more advantages in the middle in terms of Smith Rowe and Lukic. Like, they were starting to boss it again late on, so wasn't able to really sustain anything.
And last but not least, Thomas Frank. So against Arsenal, I gave him a 1. He gets a 2 this time. The positives that he managed to muster up a bit of a better start to the second half, and I thought we were pretty good for 20 minutes. And then I thought he made changes that hampered us and took the wind out ourselves. And it just lost our momentum because I thought we were looking really good, and it looked like the goal was coming, and then the goal came, and then it just kind of petered out. But the setup at the beginning of the game, when I first saw the lineup, I was like, all right, this is a good lineup. If we're going for the same system at PSG with these players, I think I was fairly happy with it. But then when the game started, I was just like, what system are we playing? Who's playing where? I was just completely lost watching that team, and that is down to the instruction. He's not getting his instructions across to the players, and That is woeful if you're managing a Premier League football club. So the tactics were all wrong. The changes I thought were poor. And the traits that we're seeing from the manager, the traits that we're seeing fester into this team are nowhere near good enough. And he needs to take a long, hard look at himself. He needs to change things quick. And if he doesn't, he's going to be the next of a long list of managers at this football club that are going to be out the door soon.
Yeah, the players are clueless. The players seem to be lacking any sort of idea of what formation we're playing. He's tinkering way too much. He can't seem to get any sort of stability in this team. We're not creating any chances. We're creating the 19th amount of chances in the league. We're open at the back. We're conceding, I think, 16th or 17th most chances in the league. We're losing to teams who can't get in. You know, Bournemouth have only one away win apparently, and it's against us. Fulham have one away win, it's against us. Wolves have one away point, that's against us. So he is really struggling to get any sort of performance at home. It's really, really worrying in that sense. He tinkered so much in this game. I tinkered the lineup. I think he's changing it from game to game formation. The changes impacted the game negatively. He managed the game horribly. We don't seem to have any mode of attack apart from getting across in the box. You know, I don't blame him too much for the individual errors, albeit he's not blameless, but you know, I don't put it all on him. But what I do put on him is our inability to look like we can attack with this team. And that is been a consistent theme and one that he doesn't seem to know how to fix. I also have to say in the press conference, it was the first time I saw him getting quite short with the journalists, and he seems to be a guy. He cuts a figure very under pressure at the moment.
Yeah.
And he was getting agitated for the first time with the press, which is not something we've seen so far. So I wonder if we'll see more of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the more these performances continue, the harsher the critics are going to get, and the more spiky he's going to get. That's just the way it goes. But that is our player ratings. Let's get into a couple of super